Hello and welcome to the Mana Dorks Podcast, Episode 1. This is a Magic the Gathering podcast where we talk about, whatever the hell we want to talk about. I'm your host, Tasty Snackies, and as always, my co-host, McBee. How's it going, McBee?
Hey, how's it going, dude?
I'm doing well. A bit tired. I worked late today. How about yourself?
Well, I was out catching Pokemon, so things aren't that bad.
We're just going to get sidetracked right in the beginning. I was not that big of a fan of Pokemon Go. I was kind of into it, but at the same time, I just was as much of a fan dogging on it. Right so tell me, as someone who's been playing for, 2 years now, what's your take on it? Like a 2-year introspective or perspective, whatever.
I love it, dude. I play often, like every single day. So, and maybe I'm in the minority on that one. I retain a job. I go out after work and play for maybe an hour or two every day.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and, I'll park somewhere in Eugene and then roam around for a little while. Sometimes I have somebody with me and we drive around and I'm operating both devices or they're operating both devices and we go and get hella stuff and try and raid often. And
I was about to say it's like IRL raiding.
Bro, I absolutely love it. And I was never, ever, ever a Pokemon person at all. I was around it. I knew about it from the card shop days, but Magic was always it. And then Pokemon Go came out. And I played the first video game.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had Blue to start with. And
I was about to say, you're older than me. You should have been exposed to the Game Boy games at least.
Bro, it came out when I was in junior high, so it was
shit.
Lit.
Damn.
Pokemon was big when I was in junior high and then high school. But by the time I was in high school, it was kind of a thing for younger kids than me. So I got to play the video game, and then the show was out, and it was all the little kids played Pokemon. So I was like, fuck that. That's for little kids. And so I was like, Magic all the way.
I play an adult game. I play Magic the Gathering. We cast fireballs and gins and stuff, not yellow electric rats.
Creatures.
Exactly. You have 150 collectibles. There's thousands of Magic cards.
Right. And we were like, oh, it's a more complex game. And we were always like, well, it's going to be like the Pokemon players of today are the Magic players of tomorrow. Was kind of our thought on it. And we were kind of right on that. A lot of them turned into Magic players, but a lot of them stayed true to Pokemon, man. They were like, oh yeah, Pokemon for life.
It's a pretty great game. I gave it kind of a shot when it first came out because I was the target demographic. I was 7, 8, 9 years old when it was huge the first time around, and the card game kind of went right over my head, mostly because my mom wouldn't allow me to have Pokemon cards, so I kind of missed out on it. But then I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And kind of made up for it and then moved on to Magic and so on and so forth. And then I came back to Pokemon later, about 3-4 years ago, and because I was working at Epic and they sold a lot of Pokemon cards. So I got into it, and my impressions was I was playing this weird Storm, like most Pokemon decks are kind of like Storm decks. We were just playing a bunch of spells just constantly, just trying to get something online. In
this deck that was more like a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh deck is what you wanted.
Well, it feels more like I'm playing Vintage or something, but the deck I was playing was a Reanimator deck where you had to get your Blastoise in the bin or whatever they call it in the game, and then you bring it back and use this card called Keldeo, which allowed you to get a bunch of energy, and then it was this weird, janky ass combo deck. And after playing it and learning the lines and how to sequence things correctly, I gained a newfound respect for Pokemon players because it is a very intricate deck, and a lot of decks in that format are like that in general. So after that, and after playing Yu-Gi-Oh as well, I was just I don't think it's fair to poo-poo other card games because it's just a bit unfair considering how deep and complex Magic's main competitors are.
Well, especially if you can play a Storm variant in it. Storm is a fun deck. It's a fun deck in Magic. It's one of those archetypal, classic decks. Well, in more of a modern sense, I guess, because it's combo has always been a pillar of Magic formats ever since Channel Fireball came out. People trying to get that together. When I was playing the first time I realized combo was a thing was like when Enchantress was out, where you could like put a bunch of wild growths and fertile grounds and stuff like that on lands, and like you could have Palancron and go infinite with that, and put a bunch of use your enchantments to draw a bunch of cards, and then fireball people out, or cast some X-Spell to kill them. And it was like Storm was sweet, and a combo deck turned into something that I really started to appreciate as well, because it was more than just like your control decks, your aggro decks, and then your kind of mid-rangey decks. There are more things to Magic than just those creature-based solutions, like being able to play a bunch of spells all at once to do something your opponent didn't see coming or can't defend against is a sweet feeling in Magic. So
yeah. Or even going other alternate win route conditions like milling, or playing weird stuff like near death experience or Mortal Kombat or stuff like that. That's where Magic truly shines, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's one of the things that separates it from Pokemon. I think that you have all these like different kind of archetypes that I don't think you see expressed in Pokemon in the same way. Because a lot of it has to do with like building up your guys. You're not going to have a deck that's just a bunch of trainers, right? Like you have to have some Pokemon in it.
Yeah. From what I remember, before I get into that, I want to say thank you, Lebox or Lebix, however you pronounce it, for your donation. $1.99 is very much appreciated. Be sure to come up with a question for me. But from what I understand in Pokemon, God, it's been a long time, but you can't so there's your Pokemon, and then you can evolve them. There's like stage 1, stage 2, etc. Yeah. And then you can mega them or whatever. And then you can play these item cards, and there's a certain type of item card called trainers, and you can only play once per turn, if I'm correct. I may be wrong on this. And you can only
string together a bunch of trainers? Totally.
No. Yeah, like a bunch of Bills or whatever. I don't know if Bill was ever errata, but yeah, Pokemon has this weird way of restricting itself so that way it's not as broken, but it can still be perceived as broken. But from what I understand, they're not really active with their bans or unbanning lists. It's a pretty balanced game from what I understand. Then again, I don't really know much about Pokemon, but when it's compared to Magic, especially recently with the standard format and Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is the ideal way to ban cards in my opinion, but
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is awful.
It's a bit odd. Boy, let me tell you.
Hey, fight me, dude. Yu-Gi-Oh! Sucks, period. And kids who play it are bad kids.
Amen.
They're the shoplifters of tomorrow. Fight me.
We can end this at episode 1. I ended it at episode 3 last time, remember?
I created this stream and I will destroy it.
I have the power of this channel. But, so after our 5-minute tangent, we have on the docket tonight, we're going to be talking about Chinese counterfeits. Ooh, spicy. We're also going to be discussing Pauper and how wonderful of a format it is. And we're going to be talking about our histories and stuff and some plans that I have in the future for Rogue Deck Builders channel. And then I finally have on the docket for us M19 speculation. Now that the full spoiler is out, we're going to be talking about cards that we want to utilize in Pauper, Commander, Standard, Modern, etc. And then questions at the very end. So,
what's a Rogue Deck Builder?
You're being serious right now?
Yeah, explain it to people.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know if you were asking me, what is Rogue Deck Builder? Because I was about to say.
Deck Builder, asking for a friend.
So, Rogue Deck Builder is another Magic the Gathering channel, much more prominent than myself. And
Does he want to fight me?
Maybe. He's kind of an aggressive guy. Good, but he now you got me all fucked up, man. Thanks. But so he's a Magic the Gathering channel, much bigger than me, and he features me to make Pauper deck techs for his channel. But he mostly maintains or specializes in the market and giving advice to players and building modern decks, or not modern necessarily anymore, stuff like Pauper and Standard and Brews. That's his main thing. He's the Rogue Deck Builder. He specializes in making decks that attack the metagame in specific ways with whichever deck. And it's a really cool channel. I've been a big fan of it for years, and I'm honored to be a part of it as a featured content creator. Now that the shilling is out of the way, Sean, talk to me about counterfeits.
I love them.
Yeah. What do you like about them?
I do actually like them because I think they enable people to play the kind of casual Magic or the type of Magic that they want to. It may not be casual, but the way it's played is casual. You know what I mean? Like, because obviously you're not going to be able to play the cards in a tournament. You can see those cards, however, in my particular commander group. So I'm always fine with counterfeits in commander as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if people can use the World Champs decks cards, you should be able to use some fake cards from China that look like they're the real thing. In my personal opinion.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've seen plenty of players use the gold bordered from whether it's the championship decks or on the very rare occasion you'll see someone using a collector's edition card, and you can tell because it's like really square, so it's clearly obviously a fake, or not a fake, but just not a quote-unquote legit Magic card.
Hey kids, you want to know how to turn a collector's edition card into a real-looking Magic card?
With a Sharpie? No.
Finger clippers. Little fingernail clippers.
You
got to get that. Like, scissors don't do very well, and they end up thrashing the edges. But fingernail clippers will take nice little cuts out of cards, and you can create a beta or alpha border if you choose.
Is that a late 90s Sean McBee tech? Were you selling crimped cards on the black market?
Bro, the counter spell that I've used in so many different commander decks looks beta, is gold on the back.
Ah, you're a progenitor of this then. So we can blame it all on you then.
No, man.
All right.
I've been blackbordering cards for a long time, and like, the first time that you blackborder a revised card that you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
Because the printing, the like coloring on a card versus the coloring of a Sharpie, just like it looks like garbage. So
yeah, you can obviously tell if something's been Sharpie. You can tell by like the streaks and like there's not even pressure, so it just looks garbage from the beginning. Yeah,
it looks like a trash fire. Shout out to our man Trash Fire in chat.
Shout out to the chat in general. They are blowing it up. Thank you very much, guys. Hello, Key, Legendary Man Up, Perp McFlirtin, Trash
Fire. I got my social media on it, bruh.
Hell yeah. I mean, it's not like I have 24 actually, 2,400 people that are subscribed to this channel. But hey, you know what? Everything counts, McBee. I got clapback too, bitch.
So to talk further about counterfeits, though, do you remember back in the day when you used to make a deck and you would just write on the back of Magic cards?
I did that. So that's funny, actually, because I was recently selling some cards off or trading cards for credit. And I had a Jataxian probe, or I had like 6 or 7 of them, and I was trading them in. And, stupid ass Nick, then again, in retrospect, you wouldn't think back in 2011 Jataxian probe is going to be like a $3-4 card for some reason.
You fucking idiot.
Yeah, it was all scratched up in the front, so I think that's why I wrote on the back anyways, but I wrote I think it was like another cantrip. It was like Serum Visions or something on the back. I'd have to look for it now. It's somewhere in my room, but yeah, it was pretty fucking great.
Bro, I had somebody at my house one time, like one of the homies came over and he's all, high out of his mind. We're like making decks and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get some cards to proxy on," and he like proxies on a bunch of time spiral like rares and stuff like that. So I have a Tormund's Crypt and a Teferi Mage of Zephyr that say like unstable mutation or something.
Oh,
crap on it that he didn't want to just like pick out of a box and decided to turn into a awesome, valuable card.
Oh my god, that's fucking amazing. So I have an even better one. Well, I mean, I guess it's not that great, but so you remember Garrett, right?
Garrett. Yes.
Garrett. He made a proxy swamp out of a Dakmor salvage.
Come on, dude.
Not with the permanent marker, though. He didn't damage it. He printed out a swamp, like a macro image of a swamp, and it's so unnecessary. It's fucking amazing.
Garrett Miller, everybody.
Oh man, you don't have to expose his full name.
There's a billion Garrett.
All right. Anyways, so
Trucks out
moving
there.
on. Jeez, God, we're just gonna expose everyone in the Epic crew.
People are gonna hunt him down on
speaking of,
Twitter.
speaking of, Dan's in the chat. How's it going, Dan? Anyways, so these counterfeits. So let's say you go to a legacy event, right? What's your guess as to how many people in the event? Let's say there's 500 people playing in this legacy event. How many people would you guess would be playing at least one non-legitimate card and knew about it? Versus how many that wouldn't know about it if they were to buy it or trade it from some scuzzy person?
See, I'm thinking like 2%, man. It's got to be pretty low. I think the counterfeits, if you've been playing Magic for any amount of time, they're easy to feel. You can feel the difference in them. Like the stock is something else. You know what I mean?
Right, but
like they would like, are you saying how many people actively know that they have a counterfeit in their deck and they're fine with playing it? Whose name isn't LeBox?
Yeah, because I mean they're getting really good right now. So these Gen 5 and these specifically the Gen 6 and the Gen 7 ones look pretty decent up front. Like if you were to look at it from like table distance or whatever, and it was double sleeve, you wouldn't really think much of it, especially the Gen 6 ones if they're not like too fucked up. I have a couple where the CMC is missing entirely. It's pretty great. But they do look pretty legitimate, and I've been able to trick people and like have a bunch of cards out in a row in like a commander deck that was double sleeve from a distance, and I would have like some expensive cards that were real and some that were fake just to throw them off. And I'd ask people, we'd be like, okay, don't really inspect it, just choose it. And a lot of times they'd get it 60 to 70% right most of the time.
That's not great odds for the counterfeits, man.
No, and they're going to keep working on it as long as this demand keeps going up, and Underground Sea becomes a $700 card, $800 card, $1,200 card. The technology for counterfeits are only going to grow, and the people that are making counterfeits are only going to keep propagating. It needs to be taken care of, otherwise there's going to be an entirely different secondary market for counterfeits, probably.
Well, I get the feeling that it started out as like a scuzzy business venture, in that people wanted to make these counterfeits and then sell them off as real cards. And now I feel like it's turned into something where like people want something that looks really, really official so that they can have really good proxies. And I like the idea of having really good proxies because like I think a lot of people, a lot of the Magic community is not necessarily like tournament players. They may be people that follow a tournament. They may be people that have gone to tournaments before. But I think that most of the time they are people who are going to play at home. They're going to play with friends. And for those types of things, I think counterfeits are fine, man. Like you don't want to drop $400 on 4 Jaces or 400 and change on 4 Jaces for a couple decks. Like counterfeits they're fine with me. I don't know. I may be in the minority on that one, but it's just people have been proxying since as long as Magic has been around, and like useless cards that you can't trade later on, like to get them and sleeve them up and play them. Like there's something about that with the Magic deck. Like you need to have it. You need to physically have it in your hands to understand the mechanics of it instead of just putting it down on paper. And letting people do that and do that effectively, I think is fine. And realistically, like when it comes to anything up to all the way, even Commander, like how Epic has those Commander Knights for a pack. If somebody used counterfeits in that, I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah,
and I don't think anybody else really should. Like if it's a sanctioned tournament, there's something to be said.
Thankfully, it's not.
Yeah, thankfully.
Yeah, I wouldn't try sanctioning a Commander event anyways. That kind of seems like it'd be a nightmare.
No, Commander should be fun. It should always be tabletop Magic that just takes place, somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't think the counterfeits are a big deal. What about you, man?
Yeah, I'm of the same mind. I really don't care. Like, it's what's more important is being able to play the game. It's pretty shitty to know that there's a whole world of Magic that you're not able to enjoy just because you're not part of the rich boys club and you don't have the money to buy in. That's kind of a shitty feeling, and that's where counterfeits really make up for it, because they allow people to have an entry point into playing with super powerful cards and playing these old strategies and playing with all this fun stuff that you wouldn't have access to beforehand. And at the end of the day, let's say hypothetically Magic fails and 20, 30 years from now, your grandkids are like looking at some Magic cards or whatever. And they're like, what are these? And you're like, oh, it's Magic. And you have fake lotuses, you have fake duels, you have, fake whatever. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it's just cards. Like at the end of like when Magic's gone and Wizards stops making the game, all that's left to do other than, us content creators, shit in our pants, is just enjoying the game for what it is at that point. And I feel like counterfeits are going to help with that, because Magic may sustain popularity and have a secondary life afterwards, just because it's one of the most deeply rewarding games in terms of, like, I don't know, playing mentally, or saying that it's mentally stimulating, and it's just a great social experience in general, especially for older adults. It's a great way to socialize and, gain friends. And the counterfeit market, once Magic goes away, is a great access point to provide cards for people in the future, because for a fact that there's going to be people that will try to take advantage of it and will try and sell Black Lotuses, post Magics, or any non-reserve list card or whatever, like something like Alpine Moon from M19, for example, will try and sell for like $150 because, oh, Wizards doesn't make it and the card's 35 years old. What are you going to do? I'll just play with a counterfeit.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. When you have cards out there that are so expensive and people just want to play the game, they're going to find a way to do it. And I would much rather have these nice proxies that look great in sleeves than to have to write on the back of cards.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, at the end of the day, it's like when the monetary value aspect of it is dead and gone, if that ever in fact happens, because the only thing that I feel is protected from that are cards like cards from Alpha Beta Unlimited, like I was saying on our Zero episode. Like the cards from Alpha Beta Unlimited are they represent something so iconic in Magic. They're so beautiful, like the style of art is so different from it is now. Oh, and Arabian Nights and probably Antiquities and Legends all represent this too. It's like a time in Magic when they didn't have things solidified, when they were kind of all over the place, but still the art was very swords and sorcery, and it wasn't pretty in the classic sense of like the way the art is now. It was like
it wasn't a multi-million-dollar industry. It was just a game made by a bunch of nerds in order to pass time between D&D, and then it kind of grew, and they're like, oh, let's do a Arabian themed expansion or Arabian Nights themed expansion. Let's make a bunch of legendary creatures.
Look how beautiful your Shivan Dragon is there in the back behind you.
Yeah.
That art from Melissa Benson is iconic. Her clone is iconic. Something like a Christopher Rush piece. It's iconic, man. All that stuff just it exudes Magic's like soul, you know what I mean? And those kind of things I think will be around and will hold monetary value for a long time, just because they're representative of what Magic started out as. Just like a Batman, an early Batman comic or an early Superman comic. It's like the story may not be that great, just like the mechanics may have not been, set in stone and really evened out or balanced out in the old days of Magic, but still the stuff from back then is just so gorgeous. It's like it's captivating because of what it is and what it represents. And to be able to take that same thing, to be able to have a counterfeit to represent those old cards, I think is fine. But at the end of the day, like the collectible side of it that is going to sustain. That's always going to be there. Those are always going to have some value just because of what they are, and you can physically you can look at an old card, look at the little micker marks on it, the little circle marks, and know that's a real card. Like you can't redo that. You cannot you can't duplicate that without an incredible investment. Like digital printers cannot do what those gigantic printers from back in like Europe or wherever those old cards are printed can do. They just, it's a certain kind of machine, of actual machine that prints that out, that you can't duplicate without so much more investment than any of those cards would ever be worth.
When or first off, do I sound any different because I just changed microphones?
Oh yeah, you sound real good.
Okay. I had my microphone set to my webcam, so I'm sure it sounded kind of like garbage beforehand, and then I just switched it to this mic. So apologies for the first 20 minutes of it sounding like trash. Anyways, sorry, I kind of got sidetracked. So we were talking about what were you talking about before I interrupt you? Because I had something to say.
I just think that the fakes, contrary to what our man in chat, Legendary Mana, says, I think that the fakes will never diminish the value of the old cards so much, because you cannot recreate what was done with the old cards. There will never be machinery in place that is cost effective to make fakes, because the machinery itself would cost so much. Like you would have to put in tons and tons of investment into making fake cards, and at that point you're putting in hundreds of thousands of dollars to make fake Magic cards that people might be able to tell. It's
I don't know. There might be a philanthropist that might do it, but what I remembered what I was going to say was, could you imagine if when Wizards goes under, what are they going to do with those printers? Are they going to destroy them? Are they going to destroy any way of, or like any blueprints or any semblance of building them back together? You know, kill anyone who had anything to do with the design process of it in order to protect their IP? Or do you think they would just, sell it off?
I would imagine that those printers still exist and do stuff, or if they've gone to disrepair and been serviced back into like functionality would be my guess. Like they're a giant machine that required a lot of investment, so I doubt they just let them go. Like those printing places probably still print things, but they may not be using the same layout as back in the day. I don't know. I may have to retract that statement, because I do not know enough about it to really say that. So saying that is kind of a blowhard move on my part. So my guess is I would think that those printers are still active because they're giant costly machines.
Yeah.
They probably cost a lot to actually make. The actual molding of the cards, not the molding, but like the patterns to create the cards, like the presses,
the ink, maintenance.
No, I'm talking about like the actual I don't even know what you call it.
I'm sure they changed it, especially with the new card design with that foil stamp. That's probably added another layer of complexity to designing cards now, or printing cards.
Yeah.
Because it's not a raised surface, it's even with the cards. So I'm sure that the old printers are probably destroyed, would be my guess.
Dude, and what we need to do is we need to get a fucking expert on this particular subject, like somebody who knows about the printing of Magic cards, and get him on the show to talk about the actual process of making old Magic cards, or of making even new Magic cards, so that we can get some insight into exactly how it goes down. Not like proprietary secrets or anything like that, but try and get somebody who knows about some of the initial printings, and then maybe can give us some insight into like what goes on today. Because I think that would be fucking interesting, right? Like if we can get the elevator pitch from him, if it's not like 45 minutes of the difference in ink here versus the difference in ink here.
Yeah, but then the hellfire of Wizards' legal team would come in and consume all of us for dispersing any of that sensitive information, probably.
Somebody who's an expert in their field, we could talk to them all the live long day.
Yeah, I mean, but who else? Would we have to talk to, like a Konami rep or something, or the Pokemon trading company rep or something like that, because it's a very enclosed industry. There's not that many people making trading cards. Maybe we can ask one of the people at Forcewell. That game is dying. It's probably easy to get some words from them.
Brutal. Yeah, but aren't they dying because their card stock is shit and their printing is shit?
I don't know. The Forcewell cards that I still have, because I got it when it started getting popular here in America with like Valhalla. I think I have a lot of super old cards from like Millennia of Ages is when I stopped buying cards from Forcewell, as a lot of other players did too. But the quality is really good. The foils that I have, they're not curled at all or anything, and the textures on the back is my favorite like thing about any trading card game ever. I fucking love Force of Will like card design. It's pretty fucking amazing.
Really, I like the magic card Force of Will.
No, that card's bad. You have to pitch Stormcrow to it, dude.
You know what's bad?
What?
Yu-Gi-Oh. Next subject. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, speaking of bad cards, let's move over to our next subject, and that is Pauper.
No. Bad cards in 60 card format.
Want to play some jank in your really bad common deck and then play against Delver of Secrets and get BTFO'd? Pauper.
Yeah, do you enjoy playing with cards like Ichor Wellspring? Do you want to play Firebolt again? Then let me tell you the legend of Pauper.
Do you like Lightning Bolt? How about Counterspell? How about this random ass, I'm going to blow you up with my infinite combo deck that took like 50 million steps, and then I'm also going to play a Lando deck. That's what I love about Pauper. Like Legacy and Modern in their most healthy form, or their most healthy forms, they can be extremely diverse and extremely healthy. And that's very true with Pauper. Pauper it's very unique in the terms of decks kind of act on like a food chain or rock, paper, scissors kind of basis. Like when one certain deck is doing good, another archetype will come and take it down from its place. And then like some other cards will get printed and it will boost up an archetype. And then that will come and take other stuff down. Like Burn just got Grim Lava Run, or the Get to Lava Runner. And that kind of helped push it into a new direction. And
I do not understand why that card is good in Burn.
Why it's good in Burn? Because it's no, it's turn 1 Lightning Bolt, turn 2, you know, another Bolt card, and then Get to Lava Runner, swinging for 2. Goblin Guide. It's Goblin Guide and Pauper.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Don't argue with me. It's Goblin Guide and Pauper. You don't know what you're talking about. You said Yu-Gi-Oh is a bad game, therefore your opinion is invalid. Try again, sir.
I'm going to say no to that guy.
Okay.
In a creature-heavy format like Pauper, a rando 2/2 haste guy, not impressive. That's not impressive to me. The archer guy that does an extra damage when you cast a red spell or whatever, or when you
Reckless Fireweaver, the one that has 1 toughness and dies to literally everything, including Shrivel and Electrickery. Yeah, seems solid. A 1/2.
He's still just some rando guy that dies, just like everything else.
Or are you talking about the 0/3 that untaps? Thermo Alchemist.
Well, that guy's fine, but no, the Firebrand Archer.
Yeah, Firebrand Archer.
That guy's good. That's a good new guy for Pauper. I understand why that guy is good in Burn, but the 2/2 Lava Runner guy does not impress me.
Well, he's certainly better than Keldon Marauders or whatever the...
Yeah, Keldon Marauders is trash.
Pure trash. So what are you busting out a Pauper deck on us? What's up?
Well, I was just looking at the Burn deck so I could remember the name of the Archer guy.
Oh, okay. So what are you playing in Pauper besides Burn?
Basically, I have this gauntlet of about like 8 decks that I play in Pauper, that I like have accessible in Pauper. So I have the Is It Blitz deck might be my favorite.
I just made a deck tech on Rogue Deck Builder's channel recently about that.
Shameless plug. Well done.
It's a great deck. I love it. Nivik Cyclops, Kiln Fiend, A+.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm actually surprisingly a big fan of the Heroic deck. The Heroic deck is better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Are you jamming Seeker of the Way in there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Seeker of the Way. I was super stoked about that card.
But if I had having my pick, I always try and go for like the mono blue deck. Tron is always excellent, and Is It
Mono
Blitz?
Blue Tron.
Sorry, Mono Blue,
Okay.
Tron, and then Is It Blitz are the two that I usually go for. Those are like my first choices, and then like Burn is probably last actually because it's not as interactive as the other ones. Though it is a good like fair clock. Sometimes like
What's your build of Mono Blue Tron like?
not no Nick no Mono Blue a deck.
Okay, because you had
Tron
me,
a deck.
and then okay, you had me confused because then you said, and then my second deck Burn, so it was like Mono Blue Tron. What? Okay.
Mono Blue
So is it Delver then?
slash Tron.
Oh,
Yeah, of course.
Jesus Christ. Okay, just say Delver.
I'm sorry, dude. I'll use the proper terminology so you know what I'm talking about.
If it has a 4 of Delver in the deck, it's automatically a Delver deck no matter what.
Yu-Gi-Oh sucks. Next topic. I also have Stompy and what are the other trash decks that I have here? The red white value deck, you know, with like Ichabod Springs and all that nonsense.
Oh, Koldothaboros. Are you playing the new what is it? The Monarch guy, Palace Guard or something like that?
I do not have that guy in there presently, but he looks fine.
He's
like a fine man. He
changes the deck entirely. He makes it better, in my opinion. Like it's pretty much been converted to just supporting him and spouting out Battle Screech tokens and that kind of shit. But that Monarch guy, it's pretty great. There's a reason why him and the Thorn of the Black Rose are like $10-15 cards on Moto.
Oh God.
Yeah, they're only obtainable in like treasure chests, I think. So there's a low supply as is, and then they turn out to be very decent in Pauper. Very decent.
Doubt. The black one seems really interesting to me too. It's also kind of interesting that card doesn't go into the control decks. Because you would think that you would be able to get like a hit in every once in a while, like a hit, and then stay the Monarch for prolonged periods of time.
Yeah,
if you're drawing extra cards.
And she's also great against like Gromag anglers or anything huge because of that death touch. Is super relevant all the time.
Right.
But yeah, I play her in a black-red control shell because she's a great source of card draw in the deck. And then there's like Read the Bones and Night's Whisper and stuff. But yeah, she's pretty great in the format. I don't know if she's like translatable to every deck that is splashing black, or like even the same with the Palace Guard or whatever, just because they fit in very specific decks in general. But like in terms of what they're trying to do, and that is just provide card advantage in a format where card advantage in that level is kind of hard to obtain in the first place, they do a pretty good job.
Yeah, you don't really have the like power draw cards like you do in some other formats. Like you don't have like a Sphinx's Revelation or anything, or Phyrexian.
But you do have Brainstorm.
But you do have Brainstorm, and Fetch Lands.
Yeah, you do have Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse. Side note, I think it's kind of horseshit that Wizards of the Coast has been reprinting Evolving Wilds so often and shoving it down our throats so much. Like, I thought it was cute when it got a new art in Dark Ascension. I was like, oh, that's cool. So we're going to get a Terramorphic Expanse reprint, right? That was in 2012. So, no. And then we get a new art. We even got like an FNM art, which looks really fucking cool. And then we got like a Dragons of Tarkir promo art, which I have a playset of. And those are like $10 a piece now. It's like the most valuable of the Tarkir Dragon Fury cards. But they've reprinted Evolving Wilds so many times with so many different arts, yet they can't do the same for Terramorphic Expanse. And they're both the exact same card. I don't understand why.
Yeah, I don't know either, man. Like maybe just they want to keep reprinting the same card over and over and over again.
They put it in they put it in Commander not too long ago, like, or maybe in this past Commander, but they put it in recently, so it's not like they forgot the card. They're neglecting it. Maybe they don't want both Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse in the same format or standard format.
Dexter, it's not time for me to pet you. It's time for me to be on the internet.
Cat doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't. No F's were given that day. Oh, buddy, I don't know. I don't know why they don't reprint Terramorphic Expanse. That is kind of strange. Maybe they should do something a little bit different that goes to get Okay. Here's a good idea.
Okay.
I just came up with this. In one of the upcoming sets, like maybe the upcoming Ravnica set, they should get you a fetch land that goes to get you a guild gate. So
that seems like garbage.
Why?
What? A fetch land that gets you a tapped land?
That's what fucking Evolving Wilds does, dude.
Yeah, but okay, so all right, so that's what you mean. I thought you were meaning like in like the rare land cycle. Okay, so you're talking like let's say an example, set 1 of the Ravnica block, you get this weird faux Evolving Wilds card, and then you get your half cycle of the guild gates. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying like you get a land that comes into play untapped, and you can sack it and go get one of the guild gates. So you could go get a dual land, but it comes into play tapped.
Do you think
it should probably be an uncommon?
You think Wizards would waste the design space to reprint guild gates again?
Well, I mean, just as much as they're going to reprint, they reprinted.
We already have all the common ETB tapped lands that aren't gates already in the format, though.
You would say that, and then they got reprinted in M19.
Yeah,
or they got redone in M19.
So
those are new ones, aren't they?
No, it's just new art. Or not new art, it's newer art just put into a core set. But
are they all reprints though?
Yeah, they are all reprints.
From where are they reprinted from?
Like Timber Gorge is from like Battle for Zendikar, I think. Submerged Boneyard is from like, oh wait, these are allied duels, so these are from Oath of the Gatewatch, I believe. Maybe BFZ. But and then I can't remember where the enemy cycle is from. I think it's Shadows over Innistrad, if I'm not mistaken.
Still though, uncommon dual land goes to get you a guild gate. You end up fixing, comes into play tapped, good possibly for standard. Do some mana fixing. You have a sack land.
I think it's going to be stone unplayable in the format though if people aren't playing Evolving Wild.
Why do people need to be playing Evolving Wilds? What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know. It seems strange. I'm not a fan of it.
All right, man.
It seems a bit excessive.
Hey, you know what? That's okay.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't even be Pauper playable at that point. I mean, then again, you wouldn't really want to introduce that kind of shit. You don't really want to introduce that kind of degeneracy into Pauper.
They already have sacklands in Pauper.
And nobody uses them.
I use them.
Why do you use Evolving Wilds? Or do you use other ones?
In the black-blue control deck has them. The Isn't Blitz deck has them.
Uh-huh.
No, it's Shimmering Grotto.
You don't play like Is It Boilerworks or Spire Bluff Canals or whatever the ETB tapped gain of life. Can't remember what it's called. Not Spire Bluff Canals.
Oh, like Radiant Fountain or whatever?
Yeah, but you gain 1 life. I can't remember what the blue-red one's called. Blue-green's like Thornwood Falls. It's from Cons of Tarkir and Fate Reforged. Yeah.
I play those and I play the sacklands.
Jeez, all your stuff ETB's tapped then, doesn't it?
No, I play a bunch of. Do you play Pauper?
I do, but I don't play Evolving Wilds.
Or Terramorphic Expanse.
Oh, God, no.
They're the same card, guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't play them. Like maybe in a black-green like Tortured Existence list or something where I'm like utilizing my graveyard and I need delve material for a Gurmag Angler, possibly.
Exactly.
Or like if I'm really trying to get my value out of Brainstorm, then yeah.
That's like the best reason to play Brainstorm.
No, well, I mean, I already play Brainstorm in Delver anyways. Just jam Evolving Wilds in there.
Sir, I don't know if you have played enough with Brainstorm and then where you brainstorm and then you sack the sackland to get basically an Ancestral Recall out of it.
Yeah, that works in Legacy where, you know, your land can ETB untapped and you can leave your extra white mana to cast Swords to Plowshares with. Yeah, but
we're
when
talking about Pauper where creatures are shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And there's lots of removal for said shitty creatures.
The creatures aren't shitty though. Your opponents are casting flipped delvers or spewing out Mirror Enforcers for free and Frogmites or infinite comboing you, or not infinite combo, but inside out combo you.
The Brainstorm Evolving Wilds trick it's fine. It's nice. It's cute, but it's way too slow for Pauper.
You're fine.
Way too slow. Just saying. How much do you play on Moto, bro?
I don't play Moto. Moto's trash.
Oh, well, then that explains why.
I feel like I've played enough Pauper to represent the fact that the Sacklands are fine. Man, we're getting on such a ridiculous back and forth right now.
It's wonderful, though. It fills up time, and it's great for our viewers.
No, it's not. It's trash. It's no, I said so. No, I think my way is right. No, I think my way is right. What I'm saying is,
in general, every player argues about everything.
Yeah, that's half of what's fun about Magic is debating about what's good, bad, or just the stuff that you like in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when it comes to Pauper, though, I feel like the fact that it has these sweet archetypes and has, like you said, the ability to have a best deck crop up and then another deck come in and put it in check is one of the things that makes it a really strong format. Oh, you smoke a little weed there, Nick?
Just a tiny bit. I know you are too. I saw you.
No,
I'm in Oregon. It's legal.
By the way, shout out to Canada for making weed legal.
Right? Congrats, guys.
Good job, neighbors to the north.
More advanced than us.
Dude, no kidding.
Well, I don't know. Paying attention a little bit to Canada, but at least their weed laws are way better than ours are. But hey, you know what? You know what, McB?
Yu-Gi-Oh! Sucks. Next topic. Gotcha.
Everyone, please pay respects for McB as this is his last episode of the Mana Dorks. Anyways, yes. So M19 just came out. Or you know what? I don't want to jump into M19 yet because I haven't had the opportunity to talk about my Pauper stuff yet.
Yeah, please do.
So I play 2 decks in Pauper right now in paper, but I have a treasure trove of decks on Moto because it's infinitely more accessible and affordable on Moto, even though Pauper is super cheap, and that's one of the main reasons why you should be playing the format in general is the affordability. But in paper, the main 2 that I play is Mono Blue Delver, which I just bought a 4 of the signature spell books just so I could get a playset of Brainstorms and counter spells for the deck.
Like Mono Blue Tron?
Yeah, it's just like Mono Blue Tron. When I was thinking about Mono Blue Tron, I had it in my mind. I was like, what the hell goes in there? Like Seagate Oracles and like Mnemonic Walls and Mole Drifters and Wretched Gryphs and Ghostly Flickers. You can make a Mono Blue list. I mean, it's not going to be as good because you don't have Ancient Stirrings, but
you just counter a bunch of spells, slam Ulamog's Crusher.
Play Condescend and like Syncopate and just
off to the races.
Yeah, just go for it. But my other main paper deck is 5-color Tron, and it's weird. It doesn't play any expedition maps because I don't have any, and I don't feel like justifying paying for any right now. So it's like running Explorers in its place. It's kind of bad, but it's a weird, like, it's playing Mnemonic Walls. It's playing like the Flicker combo with a Dinrova Horror. It's 5-color Dinrova Tron. And then for white, it's got a single Face Feathers in the main board, and then 2 Orm's Thunders and another Face Feather in the sideboard. And then red is like Ancient Grudge, and then like green is like Explore, and a few fog-like effects like Moment's Peace and Tangles. And then or not Tangle Man deck? No, not Tangle. Moment's Peace, just Moment's Peace.
I was gonna say that's spicy. I like.
I was thinking of playing the Constant Miss as well. Or no, I don't think Constant Miss is legal. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But and then it's a spicy list. It's not particularly that good. I need to replace the Explorers for Expedition maps, and then it'll be a decent deck. But man, I fucking love Pauper. I need to get back into it. I'm giving all of you a sneak peek right now. The next Pauper deck that I'm making for Rogue Deck Builder is blue-green Turbo Fog. I lost the name for a second. It's the Jace's Erasure deck, and I decided to visit it because Jace's Phantasm was downgraded to a common in Iconic Masters. So that's another like finisher for the deck in case it's too slow and you can't beat them down with Jace's Erasure. You just play Jace's Phantasm and you beat him in the air with a 5/5.
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, those two, and then counter spells, and then just a shit ton of fog effects.
Nothing says scrub-a-dub-dub, sir, like a mill deck with a backup plan of Jace's Phantasm, the little Jace's Familiar guy.
Hey, you know what? Turbo Fog doesn't necessarily have to be a mill deck.
As someone who worked at a card shop, I've sold, and you too, sir. I'm sure you've sold a lot of Jace's Familiars in your day.
Phantasms?
Yeah, thank you. Mill players.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
It's a common, though. It's a common
hallmark, did I say?
It's a common.
Nah.
Gotta live the dream. It's actually not that bad of a card. I was playing a mono blue version of it that was a half Jace's Erasure, half Delver's Secrets, Jace's Phantasm. And I shit you not, it made me want to cut Jace's Erasure from the deck entirely and just play this turbo draw, find my Delver's Secrets or Jace's Phantasm and kill you.
I could certainly see wanting to cut Jace's Erasure from a deck.
Yeah. It was just like those creatures and then just draw spells like Words of Wisdom and like really bad stuff that like no one has played otherwise, like Ideas Unbound, which is draw 3 and then discard 3 at the end of your turn for 2 blue mana. It's a trap. Don't ever play it. It's a bad card. But yeah, it was that and then just like some random ass tempo threats. And it turned out to be a really decent deck.
You know, one thing that a card that I love that I don't feel sees enough play is Compulsive Research. I've always been a huge Compulsive Research fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Commander, I played it and I loved it. In like a States deck that I played one year, it was really, really good. And I see like nobody else playing it, but it always seems like a card that should have got a little more credit than it really got. It's like sorcery speed, thirst for knowledge, but you discard a land, and I feel like late game you're always fine with getting rid of land, so you end up with 3 cards and get rid of a land. Seems good to me.
Yeah, I've seen Compulsive be played in stuff like Tron before. That's most commonly where I saw it. I remember it being played when Peregrine Drake was in the format, and then Peregrine Drake Tron. Oh, man, let me tell you what a nightmare that was.
That's one of the reasons I think Pauper actually got popular was removal of that dumb combo nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a control deck with a combo kill you strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Classic way for people to not have fun.
Peregrine Drake was annoying by itself, and then when you add Tron, the slowest but most inevitable like deck ever, and then you just slap that onto it, and it's just like, watch me make 30 mana a turn, and then lightning or whatever the Rolling Thunder, and then just you're dead.
I still play that card. I like it a lot.
It's a good card.
Yeah, Rolling Thunder's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, we had to blaze people out. Just X mana, 1 red, X damage to a target. Not even Krevik's Torch. Not even Fireball. Not even Disintegrate, Nick.
Not even Disintegrate. What's not Disintegrate?
It's an X spell, and if you kill the creature, it gets RFG'd, gets removed from game.
Oh.
Exiled? Is that what they call it these days?
Yeah, exiled.
I've done a lot of finger quoting today. Finger quoting.
Old man. I was about to say exile's been a relevant keyword for a long time now.
RFG, baby, all day long. Remove from the game. Back in the day, I think they used to say remove from the game entirely. Dude, Magic cards used to say the dumbest shit on them.
Magic cards were literal word soup, like nowadays, where you get the weird red enchantment like Sunbird's Invocation or some other stupid fucking thing where it has a million words on it. Man, imagine that, but really thin text, and you still can't understand it after reading it 3 or 4 times. You're like, what the fuck does this card do again?
Yeah. Those kind of cards, if you wanted to do them with old Magic design, they would have to have like a fucking a greeting card. It would have to unfold into an explanation of the rules of what it does.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to have like a diagram and a picture attached to it for it to operate properly.
Judges had a hotline back then.
True.
1-800 Judge. Huh?
Beth Morrison, level 5 lady judge from back in the day, the OG.
OG. Speaking of OG, you know what just came back that's pretty OG?
Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's true. But no, we got a new core set over the horizon. Aren't you excited?
Yeah, I like a core set, actually.
Me too. I was kind of ecstatic to hear that core sets were leaving back when they announced that Origins was going to be the last one. I was like, yes. And then everyone was like, we need pithy needles. You need core sets for pithy needles. But I remember hate cards being printed in Return to Ravnica, like Pithy Needle, for example, or Rest in Peace. That's a different subject for a different day. I don't think core sets are necessary for hate cards. You can design it in the design space of a regular set. It's just
absolutely. They used to do it back in the day.
It's a bullshit excuse. But we are getting a new core set, and along with it, we are getting a bunch of cool design cards that you probably wouldn't have seen in a specifically themed set, which is what I feel like the strength of a core set has, is where it's an amalgamation of a bunch of cool things just all thrown together in one single set meant to introduce or entice new or returning players. That's what I like about them.
Yeah, I'm a fan as well, because you get some bread and butter kind of like standard staples or like marginally playable staples that enter into the format that can kind of flux between, like, you have a solidified format to start with. The new core set comes in, kicks out some of the pillars, some of the things that you need to build decks with, and then you have brand new tools that are there as sort of the foundation for the decks, some of the decks that you can build. And they often also will put in some neat little like sleeper cards that you don't realize are good until way down the line.
What do you think is a sleeper card in this set?
I don't know. New Magic cards, they're just net deck. Shout out Rogue Deck Builder.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's in the chat. What up, Rogue Deck Builder?
Yo, dog, I heard you got all these followers on the YouTubes.
Huh?
Yo, dog, I heard you got all these followers on the YouTubes or whatever.
Dude, I'm so popular. I got everyone on my dick tonight.
That's nice.
But, so...
I mean, always I think the Planeswalkers are the first thing that people kind of look at and judge, you know, where the set's going, what it's doing based on the kind of Planeswalkers that are put out.
So, and speaking of Planeswalkers, there's a select few people who are kind of up in arms about Vivian Reed and how it's a new narrative-driven way of kicking Garrett out because of Triumph of Ferocity for being too violent against women and all that horseshit, when Wizards of the Coast pretty much acknowledged that Garrett was dead by Magic 2014, I believe, or 2015.
Dude, what are people complaining about? Garrett has been around for forever. He's old and tired. I mean, he was literally one of the first Planeswalkers.
He's one of the Lorwyn 5. Like, yeah, I get that the rest of the Lorwyn 5 still exist, except for Garrett. And people are saying, oh, it's because he's quote unquote problematic, when it's, I don't mind, to be honest. I'm also getting kind of sick of Nissa because we've just seen a shit ton of Nissa. So I'm kind of excited to see Vivian Reed. I wish we would get like more green Planeswalkers. I wish we would move away from like these Lorwyn 5 and just like all these old Planeswalkers that we've seen. Like, even though we've had Nicol Bolas shoved down our throats since Amonkhet, you know, let's move away from the Eldrazi and from Nicol Bolas. You know, let's go back to the Phyrexians or a new villain or whatever.
Well, I mean, if you look at the lineup of Planeswalkers that you have right now, it's neat that you have.
I like Sarkhan. I love that Sarkhan's back.
You have one original Planeswalker still left, like one of the Lorwyn 5.
Right, and you have a Johnny. And then you have Tezzeret, which was introduced in Shards of Alara block, I think.
Oh, was it Johnny one of the original 5? So you have 2. Excuse me, you have 2. Because you have Liliana.
Oh, yeah, Liliana, that's right, yeah.
But she actually has, like, it makes sense because she's had a decent story arc for me for, I mean, a while after her whole Chain Veil thing and she's a popular Planeswalker, too. And
she's relevant for the set, just like Tezzeret is, because she's one of Nicol Bolas's pawns, and this is a Nicol Bolas themed set. So it makes sense why she's in here, and then it makes sense why Johnny's in here, because Johnny's always been a rival to match Nicol Bolas in the lore. And then Tezzeret is another pawn of his, and then Sarkhan was another pawn of his, but then moved on to go do his own thing. And then I don't know what Vivian has to do with any of this. She's just probably a new character. is my guess.
It seems like
I love the
she's
design.
one that's kind of like on the place that's hosting this big battle. Like she seems like she's very much part of the land that they're on.
Maybe. I just want to get this out of here. Like, I love the design of Vivian Reed. Like, not the card. Like, I like the card just fine, but like in terms of like the character and just how original it is to see like these weird green spirits and then like just specialize in the bows and arrows and stuff like that. It's just like it's very not like entirely original, but it's a nice breath of fresh air in terms of green mages. Especially
she looks pretty badass too.
Yeah, but
she's a lady of color.
Spicy, get some chocolate in your life, boy.
Yeah, no hate on that, dude.
Hell yeah. So what are some key cards from M19 that caught your eye now that everything's been spoiled?
Well, see, how can I say this? Like, some of the cards that look cool to me are not necessarily cards I think that are going to make a huge impact, but are flexible, like kind of commander cards.
Shout out to Rogue Deck Builder. He said, because he was talking about Resplendent Angel, I think I agree totally with Rogue Deck Builder. It's not necessarily like a super trap card, I don't think it's as good as everyone's assuming it to be. It requires a lot of investment in life gain in order to get anything with that card, and just I'm not a fan of it. Like, it's a cool card, don't get me wrong. The 3-mana 3/3 flyer is great, especially if like they were to reprint Sarah Avenger, I guess, into a nice turn 4 3/3. But whatever, I don't know. I'm not.
That's the real question, isn't it? Like, is just a 3/3 flyer for 3 any good in the format right now?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really seem that good. And if you have to jump through another hoop in order to get a 4/4 with flying and vigilance, no, it's a full 4. How funny.
That was an excellent mocking tone there, sir.
Thanks. I worked all day on it just for you. What I do like is Demanding Dragon. Now, this is a browbeat effect that I really like. I've always been a sucker for browbeat effects, and one of my favorite cards of all time has been Vexing Devil. And Demanding Dragon is kind of like that. And so 5 mana, 5/5 flying ETBs, it either deals 5 damage to target opponent or they sacrifice a creature. So you at least get a 5/5 flyer out of it at the very least. And then you either get removal or burn to the face. So that's what I really like about it, as opposed to other browbeat style effects where you might get what you want, but at the very least you get a decent flyer in the air.
That's legit.
Yeah.
For me, I'm a fan of the new Nicol Bolas.
Really, I've heard a lot of people poo-poo it.
I think a 4/4 flyer for 4 that makes your opponent discard a card when it ETBs is, again, a fine monster.
Mm-hmm.
Fine monster for me.
Slam it turn 6 with some counterspell backup, and then flip it turn 7.
I don't know, man. I think this might be a card that you're slamming on 4 and like let him do whatever. You've already got your value out of it when it comes into play.
Yeah,
it's like a big ass Ravenous Rats. Like, whatever you.
It's kind of like a Thought-Knot Seer. It's a Grixis Thought-Knot Seer, kind of.
Yeah, but doesn't Thought-Knot Seer look at their hand too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. You don't actually discard something; they just pitch it. You don't get to look at their hand.
Muy valuable information.
Yeah. Speaking of Nicol Bolas, because I was looking over this Liliana's contract and how he deals with Liliana's contract now. This card is really sweet. For 5 mana, you get an enchantment that ETBs and you draw 4 cards and you lose 4 life, and then it has another ability. But like, going over that first, so for an enchantment for 5 mana, drawing 4 and losing 4, that's a pretty decent rate, especially in a format like Commander or even in Standard. That's something that I would be willing to like slot a 1-of in just to jam it in and have some advantage in like a mono black control shell, for example. But it has another line of text that says, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more demons with different names, you win the game. So, play Arcane Adaptation, if that's the card that I remember correctly, where you can like jam some janky ass combo and win that way.
I don't know about getting a lot of demons in play.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really too concerned about that second line of text, but that first line of text is sweet.
Isn't that interesting that all the cards that we're having to consider now are like, okay, they do this one thing, and then also tacked onto it is this rando ability or this random clause that you may or may not ever even get close to having happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like what's the other one? There's another card that's like it gets you a 1/1 or something when it comes into play, and then it. Oh no, I'm mixing two cards up. I'm thinking that Thorn Lieutenant card, and then there's another like elf that comes into play and gets you a 1/1. That's in the set too, right?
Yeah, I also like this Runic Armasaur. That's going to be an interesting card for something like Modern. 3 mana, 2/5, so it doesn't die to Bolt, which is pretty decent.
Great
and
point.
then, still dies to Push and Path to Exile, whatever. But whenever an opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. So for like mono green beats or something, like I was thinking of Devotion when I saw this card because I was thinking to myself, I like Leatherback Bailiff, but I wish I had something different than Leatherback Bailiff, and this might be something that I would play in its place instead because we have Steel Leaf Champion. So I'd play like Steel Leaf Champion in this and like Strangleroot Geist and like, just live the dream and play. But I don't know about any other decks. Like this is, it's kind of restrictive just because like it is double green and there are more relevant things that you want to be doing with other decks on turn 3. But I think this is an interesting card. I'm a really big fan of it.
Standard, maybe? I don't know about Modern.
You wouldn't play it in Modern?
I mean, 5 is a lot of toughness, and it does not die to Bolt. You're correct about that, but
fetch a card.
I just don't know if a 2-power 3 mana creature that isn't like. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. That is a tough one.
Maybe it's bad, but you know what else might be good in a Modern Devotion list? Graveyard Marshal. So it's double black for a 3/2 zombie soldier, 2 and a black. Exile a creature card from your graveyard. Create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. Now you play this in the mono black Devotion deck with the other 2-drop double black. I can't remember what it is. Like your Relentless Dead type cards, and then you play your Geralf's Messenger and your Phyrexian Obliterators into your Grey Merchant of Asphodels. Indeed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Zombie. That's a good thing.
And then
operates on in Tribe.
And you have Nykthos, so you could play like some random ass janky, like what's the X Blackburn spell where you can only spend black mana on? Is that like Consume Spirit, I believe?
Yeah, Consume Spirit or Drain Life.
Yeah.
Well, Consume Spirit in Modern.
I don't know. Seems like some fun jank that I would like to try out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's any good, but
what's that other card? There's a Spectre card too with like built-in Megrim on it. That card's kind of neat.
Which one is that? Is that in M19?
Yeah, it's probably not good, but it's like 4 mana ATBs. They discard a card, and then it's like a 1/3 flyer. Whenever your opponent discards a card, they lose 2 life.
Huh? Interesting. It's another Megrim. So you could play it. You could play it in your Nekasar deck.
Yeah. Exactly. He's a body. He floats around. Doesn't do much damage though. Has a 1/3. That's kind of crappy.
Yeah, dies to removal. But hey, another Megrim effect is another Megrim effect. That deck is already pretty powerful as is, and having another way of closing out the game seems decent enough.
Yeah, just like it's one of those things that like stacks up real quick too. Like just like the what is it?
Wheel, like any wheel effect, just take 14 or whatever.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Or the Blood Artist effect too. Like if you get a couple of the little Blood Artist guys who do damage to you whenever a creature dies, or do damage to your opponent whenever a creature dies, like multiple of those in play, you're like, oh god, it starts to get kind of insurmountable after a little bit.
Yeah, it does. So you know what card I think is really interesting that I really want to try out, especially in Standard, is Dark Dweller Oracle. 1 in a red for a 2/2, so it's a bear in red, which is pretty great because there's no downside. There's only upside. Pay 1 and sack a creature, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So it's that pseudo card draw or card advantage that red has, but you also get a sacrifice outlet on top of that as well. So it opens up just a swath of options for red that wasn't necessarily available before. So I think it's really sweet. And they've already been teasing like this weird like goblins aristocrats thing with the stuff that they have in here and in Dominaria as well.
Ooh, Gobos aristocrats, I love it.
Get your like siege gang commanders on and shit like this. And there's that 2-mana 1/1 that creates a 1/1 when it ETBs. So it's there. I don't know. Maybe you want to go like a Mardu route and play the black-white enchantment. I can't remember what it's called, but it's really relevant for this type of strategy.
Yeah, that sounds neat. I liked aristocrats when it was first out. That was a cool deck. Like I said, the inevitability of those blood artist guys, just like, or that blood artist like effect where something dies and you get a bonus off of it. So neat. Like the inevitability is really, really, really strong.
What do you think about Sarkhan's Unsealing? This card is super interesting to me. It's 3 and a red for an enchantment. I'm probably going to be playing this in Atali and trying it out. But whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage to any target. And then its next line reads, whenever you cast a creature spell... Okay, well, first let's go over that first thing. So whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage to any target. Okay, so in Standard, it's not really that good unless like you're trying to jam a dragon thing and you can consistently slam powerful creatures one after the other. It seems like a crapshoot for something like Standard.
Oh, you just play a creature guy that makes all your creatures with power 4 or greater cost 2 less. That's got to be part of it, right?
Oh, the Goreclaw?
Yeah, the big bear.
So we're going to try like this weird Heartless Summoning green-red thing?
Yeah, he's Big Bear, and that guy makes Sarkhan's Unsealing do damage.
Yeah, that's true. You could try it out, like make like a green-red pseudo ramp deck. Like, I mean, like it could be ramp anyways in case you can't get Goreclaw online, but once you do, you just get the engine going.
There you go, rogue deck builder.
And there we go.
Look at me go.
Seems bad though. I don't know if I'd want to try it out.
Yo, man, why you gotta crush my hopes and dreams in front of rogue deck builder like that?
Because you keep talking shit on Yu-Gi-Oh! That's why.
Well, chat, Yu-Gi-Oh! Sucks, right? Help me out here.
No, it's not. It's my baby. I'm gonna start hanging up Yu-Gi-Oh! Shit in the background now just to troll you.
Ugh.
Yeah.
You're gonna get laid even less. Oh,
it's not like I was beforehand.
Oh, can't go below 0. Oh.
So, anyways, moving on to Sarkhan's. Moving on to Sarkhan's second ability. I hate you so much, Sean.
Black pill.
Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 7 or greater, Sarkhan's Unsealing deals 4 damage to each opponent and each creature and planeswalker they control. So it's kind of like Hour of Devastation, but you have to cast a big old fatty with it. So again, you're going to want to be like focusing on like a, I don't know, dragon type strategy. It seems garbage in Standard, but in Commander, I actually don't want to play in this in Atali now that I think about it again. May play it in the Dragon just because it turns it on, but I don't know. It seems cute, but not broken, essentially. Unless like you can get like a... Oh, no, you can't get Deadeye Navigator because it's cast trigger, so never mind.
See, okay, here's the question for you. This card, this Sarkhan's Unsealing card, is a lot like Pandemonium or a card like that. So is Pandemonium a build around me really fun card that you want to play?
Say that again.
Pandemonium, the card.
Okay.
Pandemonium does something kind of similar.
Okay.
When a creature comes into play, it deals its like power equal, a damage equal to its power to a player, basically.
Okay.
So the difference here is this lets you hit rando guys that are in the way. So like your big creature comes in and then ends up doing a bunch of damage to a creature, right?
Right.
That's the only difference.
Right, but unlike Pandemonium, where you could just play smaller stuff and get your value out this way, with Unsealing, you have to play the big creatures in order to get your value out of it.
I see.
You have to play at least something with power 4 or greater. You can't just stack a bunch of 2-power creatures on top of each other.
Oh, no, Pandemonium does it to any target of their choice as well. Ooh, I was wrong. Please get a recording.
I don't know. I could be wrong. It could be playable in standard. Rogue Deck Builder just said it is his number one, so maybe there is a way that you can break it, and I just don't know yet in this format, or maybe in general, like in Commander or something. But I want to keep an eye on Sarkhan's Unsealing because it seems like a great like control card for red, and it seems like red's been getting a lot of love lately with stuff like Sunbird's Invocation and Atali and Neheb, and now stuff like this where it's like really interesting. So I think red might be moving in a new direction that like they're not going to be that garbage anymore, hopefully.
Every color has its time, man. Every color has its time.
All right, so let's go over a couple more cards. Anything else sticking out in your mind?
Well, it looks like they have a lot of good pieces for goblins just ready to go in here. Like you were saying about the Goblins Aristocrats deck, there's plenty of fuel for the fire.
I do like Goblin Motivator. We do have another Bloodlust Insider in the format. That is pretty sweet, especially in Pauper. I'm going to try that out in Pauper because I have a
Goblin Lord out of this set too.
Yeah, the Goblin Lord is sweet. But in Pauper, I play a mono red deck that utilizes haste enablers, and it's already jamming Generator Servant and Bloodlust Insider. And then we have another Bloodlust Insider in the form of Goblin Motivator. So that's fun. But that Goblin Lord, it's a 4-mana one, right? I don't know if a 4-mana Goblin Lord is... But then again, it is another sack target, and turn 4 that, and turn 5 Siege Again Commander. So, and the sacrifice on it is free. So it is pretty sweet. And then destroy target artifact. You do need a target for that. So I don't know if like you want to be playing artifacts or something like Prophetic Prism maybe, and bring Prophetic Prism back and draw cards. Like maybe do like a Koldotha Boros type effect, like type thing. Maybe that's the direction that the Goblin Aristocrats deck wants to go.
Yeah, that seems very fun.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But anything else that you want to go over before we close things down here?
I like Gigantosaurus. I like me a vanilla creature.
I like it too. I hate the name. It should be Giganotosaurus because that's technically the name of the dinosaur. But Gigantosaurus is pretty sweet. The 5-pip 10/10 is.
Nick, I didn't know you were one of those people that's like super into the proper names of dinosaurs.
What can I say? I don't have a life. I mean, I do play Magic after all. So
you must have been geeked when they came out with the dinosaur set, huh?
I was pretty excited, and then once I saw what Ixalan had to offer, the excitement died down pretty quickly. I'm not that big of a fan of Ixalan, to be fair.
Sound like a true Magic player, sir. I was like, yeah, spoiler season. And then the cards came out, and I was like, this is shit.
Yeah, I wasn't. Right. There was a lot of great Commander stuff in it. I loved Ixalan for the Commander stuff, but in terms of like standard and stuff, it was just like, eh. Then again, I was that perspective. I was coming from a period where we were just going through standard ban after standard ban after standard ban, and just like I don't really give a shit anymore at this point. Maybe if we had a healthy standard format, maybe I would look at Ixalan with more rose tinted glasses. But at this point, I could give a fuck less about it.
Well met, sir. Another card that I enjoy also is Colossal Majesty.
Which one's that?
It's the one that's at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you draw a card.
Interesting.
I liked that effect. That card we were talking about earlier that has Garrick on it. From Avacyn Restored.
Oh, yeah, the 3-mana... Oh, God, I know what you're talking about. Like, Infect played it.
Yeah, it does something very similar, and I think if you're, it's probably going to end up being like a sideboard card or something if it is ever going to be played. But it's something that the ramp decks can have and utilize against like the controlled decks maybe. That was what was it called, like Ferocity or something like that?
I think, yeah. Fuck, I can't remember what it's called.
Used to play it as a sideboard card so that they could have like some sort of draw engine. Or if they wanted to, pull ahead in a matchup, that was their way of getting extra cards. Their arena, because they always had a guy on board that was big enough to make that particular card activate. Activations, yeah.
So my last card that I want to go over is Vivian's Invocation. It's 5 and green sorcery. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. When a creature is put onto the battlefield this way, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. So, what do you think of this 7 mana possibly whiff card?
That is a wall of text combined with 7 mana, so I literally looked at the first 2 lines of it and moved on with my life.
It kind of reminds me of See the Unwritten. Do you remember that card?
I do not.
It's a mythic from Khans of Tarkir. 6 mana. Look at the top 8 cards of your library. Then you could put a creature onto the battlefield, and then if you have like Ferocious, you could put 2 of them. I could be wrong, but this reminds me a lot of that. But this has this weird fight mechanic built on top of it, so it's removal on top of a pseudo tutor. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah, you should dig a little deeper than 7, I would think, if you're playing that card, it's got to be like your deck's full of fatties, right?
Yeah. You'd want it to be at least. Imagine just like Land of War Elves, hit it for 1, my elves dies.
Get fucked.
Because it's not a May ability.
Yeah, dude. Why are so many cards out there just trying to be Tooth and Nail? Like, sorry, man. Tooth and Nail already did it better. Tooth and Nail is like the Simpsons of green sorceries.
Why didn't they just reprint Tooth and Nail as a
Fucking
mythic
A,
in this set?
Right? You go get up your Gigantosaurus's and your legendary dragons.
Right? Like, what's the scariest thing you're gonna Tooth and Nail for? Like a Metalwork Colossus and a Galta, I guess.
I don't know. Is there still Giant Eldrazi in the format?
Nope.
Well,
it's like Galta's.
Seems totally fair.
Yeah, Galta's the biggest thing you got.
By the way, shout out to all 5 of the Dragon Legends.
Mm-hmm.
They all got lots of flavor.
I like the wall one, Arcades, the Strategist. That one is super dope.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Not that big of a fan of like most of the others, especially Vivictus Asmati. That one I'm kind of like about. Palladium Moors it kind of reads like a vanilla card. Chromium's interesting. It's going to be a weird control finisher that will probably end up being like a $35 card. But Arcades is really unique and interesting, and I hate the fact that it made a Homelands card shoot up to like $9-10. That's pretty fucking gay.
Whoa, Homelands just got better.
Yeah, dude.
Box prices are going up, kids.
Buy your Homelands now, because there's a Homerid in there that's big bucks, dude.
What, the deep spawn guy?
No. I don't know. It's a Homerid that makes...
It's gonna be something with Defender, right?
I think, yeah. Or it's like a lobster. It's something.
Nick, all the Homerids are lobsters.
I don't know.
You know what the mechanic is on those cards, by the way?
Be bad.
It's supposed to operate like the tide. Like the tide goes in and your guy's good, and the tide goes out and your guy's not good anymore.
Early Magic design was garbage.
Yeah, they put a
1 mana draw
that one.
1 mana draw 3 and banding, and then Homerid thing and strip mine. Seems good, guys.
Yeah.
Then again, they didn't have the foresight to think that the game was going to be enjoyed by 25-year-old lowlifes 25 years into the future. And
speaking of wall of text, good lord, the wall of text on those cards is like, you have to look at the table of contents before you start in on any Homerid card, because it's a lot of little tiny words, sir. It's like a tome. So I earlier LeBox, I don't know if LeBox is still in the chat, was going to ask us a question, but he never did. If anyone's got any questions in the chat before we sign off for the night, but until then, let's talk a little bit more. But if any of you got some questions, go ahead and throw it in the chat, and we will talk, or we will address them soon enough. But LeBox, I'm trying to go over what he said in the chat. He mentioned something about you all should do some drafts and shit on Modo. I was actually talking about doing something on Rogue Duck Builder with like a commander thing about that. But I think he was trying to ask why does it burn when I pee? It feels like fire. So I guess that counts. I don't know. You might want to go see a doctor for that. You may have kidney stones. Dude, kidney stones. The great equalizer. I mean, ladies can get them too, but man, they don't come out of the same hole. I've been a bit more of a hypochondriac recently in my life, and
hearing and thinking about kidney stones is just making me like just want to drink a shit ton more water and just like, oh, I gotta make sure. And it was just like, maybe I should just drink some vinegar on the side just to make sure I just lower my chances of getting kidney stones.
Ballsy, sir. Stupid, but ballsy. I like it.
Man, this is a great Magic the Gathering podcast. I love this shit. Like that's just to stroke my own ego. I don't like how a lot of Magic the Gathering podcasts just talk about the same shit just over and over again. It's really nice just having a friend to just shoot the shit with.
I like it a lot too.
I look forward to this podcast. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, here's something we did not discuss, but did you happen to see the beta draft when it happened?
No, but I have heard everyone talk about it and how like everyone was picking basic lands above other playable cards just because of that value. How much are beta basics going for nowadays?
Dude, islands are a lot. Islands are a lot.
Like double or triple digits?
Double digits, but still, like, we're talking like $20 for a good island. I mean, and a lot of that stuff is packed fresh. So you're talking about like possible, grading as something you could do with it. I mean,
yeah, they had to play with them though. They couldn't proxy the cards, so I doubt any of those are going to be like 9.5s.
Yeah, but they have access to a land bank, so you don't need to necessarily play them.
Yeah, that's true.
The cards themselves, though, like, man, I can't believe there was one guy that got what a Mox Emerald, and he got an Underground Sea out of it.
Yeah, Ben Stark, I believe, was the one who just made out like gangbusters. He left with like 5K worth of cards.
Bro, I fucking lost it when he got the Underground Sea, and then when they pulled out the Mox Emerald, I was like, what? That kid? No way, dude. And the same guy, my God. There were two other duels that were pulled too. There was like I want to say like a Bayou and an Old Plateau, which is super sweet because picture. Not the one that's in revised, so pretty fucking dope. Pretty fucking dope.
What was the prize? From what I understand, it was like an alpha, something from alpha, right? Like that was the prize. You got like a deck or something.
Yeah, and yeah. It was a starter deck, I think.
That's what it was.
But like, you got a Beta Mox Emerald, I'm pretty sure you just won the damn tournament.
Yeah, if I got that alpha starter deck, that thing would not be open and just sit there and collect dust for the rest of its life.
Well, you boys have fun. I'm sleeving up 60 lands. We go ahead and put. I'm gonna go. Like, what are you gonna do, man? You gonna play with all these fucking old beta cards? Are you just gonna like? I'll take 40 lands out of the land bank, and I wish you luck in the wars to come. That's what I'd be doing, man. I mean, okay, maybe you smash people with your fucking Ironwood Tree Folk or something. Which is absurd.
Gray Ogre,
format, by the way.
Gray Ogre and Crawworm for the win.
Yeah, man. People playing fucking Sea Monster in their deck. Roar. Roar.
In a set that wasn't expected to be drafted at all, so they had to do weird ass Rochester. How does Rochester drafting work? Because I didn't see the event. What's the process like?
So you start at one place, like person one will make a pick, and then like person one is right here, and there's a wall right here. It's the wheel is what it's called. And so it'll go around to each person until it gets back to the massive hit you just took.
Yeah.
Until it gets back to the person who's at the wheel. So that person will get their 8th pick, and then they will get the 9th pick, and then it'll go back around until it gets to person number 2 who got the 2nd pick, and then they'll get the last pick.
That seems.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to do things. Once you watch it done, it's pretty easy. The wheel just keeps moving as you go through the pack. So you have your 8 people sitting around. Person 1 gets their 1 pick, and then they don't get to pick anything else out of that pack. And then the wheel moves, and so they now will get the last 2 picks, or they get the 8 picks.
Oh, okay. Okay, now it kind of makes sense when you explain it like that.
Yeah, and you just go around until the pack is exhausted, just like you would with a normal draft. But everybody gets to see it. Also, everybody gets to see everything in that in each pack. So it's like you can kind of discern what people are playing based on how the Rochester all works out. We used to do it all the time, actually. Like Eric Franz and I used to get that done quite a bit. The living legend Eric Franz.
Maybe Because I plan on building a cube in the future. Maybe I should build it to be styled like that, draft it like Rochester or something.
You can do it with just regular cube.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like I'm sure Daniel Schomburg in the chat would be able to tell you all about it.
There was this really cool way that I saw someone draft it. It was like you had like a stack of cards, and then you set 3 cards down, and then one person would look under, and if they didn't want it, then another card would be placed on top of that. Then they'd move over to the next card and look at it, and if they wanted, they'd take it, and then it'd get replaced. Yeah, and then you'd have like stacks. I can't remember what that style of drafting is called, but it's for like it's one-on-one drafting, and like you just take cards from a queue. But that seems really fucking cool.
Yeah, that's a good time. And plus, you have a really big pool to draw from, so you end up with some pretty busted decks out of it too. Because you obviously don't have the benefit of multiple people to try and like cull out all the bad cards, and you have to rely on like a lot of the picks that you take are like gonna hone your deck down to something that's pretty incredible most of the time. But it all depends on how many cards you actually draft, like how big the stack is that you pull out initially. That dictates a lot of how crazy your deck is going to be, and sometimes a little unfriendly to the combo decks. Just putting that out there.
Well, I guess like maybe you could just build your cube to not really have combo or anything like that. But I mean, if you're going to build cube, you might as well throw like Splinter Twin in there or something.
Oh, I think there's a lot of people that probably wouldn't even play cube if combo wasn't involved, because because people pillar of the format, or pillar of Magic in general.
Yeah, you got to win in a degenerate way somehow, whether it be Reanimator or Infinite Stuff or whatever. But on that note, we are going to end tonight's show. We are running a little bit over an hour and a half, close to an hour and 40 minutes. So I think we did a good job tonight, sir.
Excellent.
All right. Well,
do you have any closing words before we leave?
No, I don't. Don't scrub out. Don't be a dick. Shake your opponent's hand. Say good luck. Have fun. Don't be an asshole. I guess those are my final parting words.
Great.
How about yourself? Huh?
Yu-Gi-Oh sucks.
Yu-Gi-Oh does suck. Can't confirm. All right. So where can we find you, Mr. McBee?
Please don't find me. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Beefcake Rocks. That is my name on the radio. Not the rocks part. Not the rocks part, just the beefcake part.
Beefcake Rocks, a.k.a. Beefcake, a.k.a. McBee, a.k.a. Yu-Gi-Oh hater. Anyways, you can find me on Twitter at Tasty Snackies. You can find me on my YouTube channel, which you're more than likely subscribed to already, as Tasty Snackies. Anyways, thank you for watching the Mana Dorks episode 1. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully we can get more of these on. I'm trying to get this to be a weekly thing. We're going to try and make this a weekly thing, Tuesdays at about like 8:30. So until then, my name is Tasty Snackies. You all been wonderful, and I'll catch you on the flip side.